Hello everybody and welcome along to Simracersworld TV and round 7 of the Simracersworld GT Evo series here at the beautiful Suzuka circuit. Alongside me as always is Peter MacKay here in the commentary box, and going off last night's what was quite a small, shorter race for the GT Pro series, obviously only 18 cars starting and only 15 finishing. We were quite bored, but looking at the entry for this evening, Peter, we're going to have our hands full. It's almost a full grid.
Yeah, that's fantastic to see here in the Simracersworld GT Evo series, and as we've seen throughout the season, there's been a number of standout talents who are certainly justifying their place for next season at the pro level. And what a brilliant place to come to is Suzuka, one of the finest circuits in the world, and in fact the absolute favourite circuit of three-time Le Mans winner and fellow Scot Alan McNish.
Well, I've got to say, I didn't know that. I knew you had a wealth of facts for us this evening. So everybody, if you are watching along, please do keep an eye out for those, because I can guarantee you will not be in shortage this evening. Let's get some live shots for you, shall we? So what we will do is we will have a look at this man here, Vincenzo Amico. Dominated the previous round 1 month ago at Imola, led from lights to flag, and he's back again. He's showing up as a bronze driver for some reason on the overlay, but I promise you he isn't. He is now a silver driver. I will get that changed for you. But Peter, what do you think's in store for us this evening? He's already 1.5 tenths ahead of Ben Thanes, and Ben Thanes doesn't hang about. So Vincenzo, do you think he's got potential for another win this evening?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think it's his to lose. But, you know, in this form, especially with a full grid, I mean, in this form of racing, you've got to manage the whole way through. It's a long race, 90 minutes. And when you're out at the front, it can just be such a long day. You know, when you're battling with somebody, the laps tick by really quickly. But for Vincenzo, I mean, clearly he's got a lot of pace. It might be that he gets an early promotion to the pro class, but you know, he's only come into the series a little bit later on, so he does have time to catch up on. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely his to lose today, looking at his pace in practice. But it's motor racing, and anything can happen, and it usually does.
It usually does indeed. Speaking of racing, though, we are racing for the fastest times. We are 22 minutes into the 25-minute qualifying session, so only 3 minutes remaining. Vincenzo Amico takes provisional pole position with a 1 minute 54.24, so an incredibly quick time set on the last lap. And he's still out now. He's on his out lap, so he's still got around a lap, possibly even 2 laps if the session carries over long enough for him. It looks like it will, but he's driving towards the line now to start another time lap. Ben Thanes currently in provisional P2 with a 1 minute 54.38. Anthony Larson, pardon me, for Ronin Sim Sport Academy, going for a bit of a troublesome moment coming out of 130R, leaves the car in the middle of the road. I'm assuming he takes the tail back to the pit lane. He does indeed. And Ronin Sim Sport, they're bringing something else to the table all of a sudden, because they've got Vincenzo on provisional pole position, Anthony Larson with a newcomer to the championship. I think the first time out was last time at Imola, and he is provisional P3. And this man here, Steady Eddie Anton Dupin, going for a gravelly moment through Dunlop. Does he keep it out the wall? He does. I think he just collected the grass on the exit, but we know Anton has got the potential, but can he put it together? Because he had a bit of a rough round at Imola, didn't he?
Yeah, it was quite an. You know, we've been backing him up as the steady Eddie of the series, and that's because the opening 5 rounds of the championship, he really was really steady, cracking out podiums and top 5s really consistently. And then Imola was just one of those days where an error spawned another error, and it just sort of multiplied throughout the day. Looks like he's back to the old Anton that we know, 4th in qualifying, and at the wheel of the Ford GT, which there's one thing about Suzuka, is it is enormously demanding on a car's aerodynamics, and that Ford has some excellent aerodynamic grip. So watch out for some of the Fords today. But it's a bit business as usual with the BMWs out the front, but I think that's more to do with the people at the wheel of those BMWs than necessarily the BMW being the absolute quicker car. I think it's a bit more balanced now, especially after the latest update to iRacing. So yeah, watch out for Anton Dupin and that Ford. That car should suit the really high speed layout of Suzuka.
It should indeed, and like you say, the BMWs, they are still on top of the pile for the moment. It seems if you can pilot them around quick enough. But we're seeing, if you look on the left-hand side of your screen, everybody, where the car logos are, there's much more Porsche dominance in the mid to high pack now. They're definitely up. They're obviously getting a podium yesterday with Ryan Parkins and Strasser Porsche Sport, so they've got the potential. At the moment, the highest placed Porsche, as usual, is Ronald Moons. We know he's very, very quick in there. Sam Baxter in 8th position, Bram van Uitven in 9th, and Dieter Ertz in 10th at the moment. All Porsches, and Sven Kalber doing very, very well, right the way up in provisional P7 and second in class at the moment behind the wheel of that Ferrari. So I think BMW on the way into the season was definitely the choice, but going into the latter stage of the season, as the drivers get more and more comfortable with this most recent update as well, I think the Porsches and the Ferraris are going to be there or thereabouts and battling for podiums.
Definitely, it looks like they are, and yeah, the Porsche in particular is very, very good again through the high-speed corners. Lots of aero grip from that Porsche. Of course, the rear diffuser really squishes the back of the car down very, very nicely with the 911 RSR, and if you get the car set up well, it can change direction very nicely as well with that rear to mid-engined layout that it has. As we see Vincenzo Amico coming through the spoon curve. Very, very important corner here to get a good exit and back up the hill towards the incredibly frightening 130R, which Damon Hill said, he said, if you go too fast through there and make a mistake there, you'll be lucky to make it to the next season, let alone the next race. Such was the speed of a Formula One car in his day, and also of that corner, but Vincenzo gets through safely. So let's see if he can, he's already on pole position, let's see if he can put in an even hotter pace.
It does look like he will, because he's set a personal best sector 1, a personal best sector 4, crosses the timing beam now. Does he improve upon his time? The last time was a 1 minute 54.24. He sets a 1 minute 54.25, rounding up from the 1 minute 54.249. So Vincenzo Amico not improving on his time, only very marginally though, and to see that consistency in qualifying is insane, but seeing it in the race will really, really help him. Obviously 2 pit stops you have to take to get to the end, so strategy will play a massive part as always. So I think we might be able to get some scenic cams as the session quickly rattles over from the qualifying session to the race session. You said Vincenzo got through there safely. I think the word is bravely, because I saw him hit the grass, and tends to be, if you hit the grass while you're turning, you tend to overturn and end up going backwards and possibly onto your roof as well. But Vincenzo Amico, he managed to get through 130R all okay. I think everybody has pulled into the pit lane now. Nobody is out on circuit by the looks of it, so we should have the session ticking over very, very shortly as soon as it decides that it's time to do so. We'll get some music on in the background, but I say that as we go to the pit lane, where we've now got all that ambient sound as well, which I think is absolutely amazing. It adds that extra little bit, and also it's helped the drivers, but I think it's helped us commentators a lot as well. Going into the pit lane, you've got the pit lane klaxon, so you know when people are diving into the pit lane.
Yeah, you get that kind of whoop, 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 whoop noise, something like that. Yeah, they'll probably have a slightly different one here in Japan as well, but here's the grid.
So Vincenzo Amico takes pole position with a 1 minute 54.235 with Ben Thanes alongside on the front. While Anthony Larson, newcomer to the championship, starts in third. Anton Dupin in fourth. Let me just turn the music down a little bit. I think I've just muted it there, but Stephen DeWolf in fifth, Ronald Moon sixth, Sven Kalber in seventh, Sam Baxter in eighth, Bram van Uitven in ninth, and Dieter Ertz rounds out your top 10. John McConville starts in 11th with Martin Deckens alongside. We'll go down another couple of rows. Taylor Lane with a great qualifying right the way up in 13th position, keep an eye out for him. Kimber Haight in 14th, Matthias Sufi in 15th, Stuart Musselwhite in 16th, Thies van den Berg, Hasley Woodburn for company. Bradley Brockies and Sandro Ballesteros round out your top 20. And then we get back to the non-qualifiers of Marius Janka, Hendrik de Grave, Scotty Angelo. And do we have any more? Only one more, Giuseppe Nazo. And I think when I was looking through the standings, inputting them into the overlay for everybody to enjoy, which we will have a look at the end of the race, because I don't think we're going to have time now. I think Giuseppe Nazzo was on the very, very edge of disqualification. I think he had 62 incident points, where if he did nothing about it, I think he would have been disqualified, but he might have just ticked the box by doing 50 laps in the off week, which does, if he does 50 laps in the practice session, he will gain back 5 incident points, and with him not qualifying, that will gain him 10 depending on where he starts. It looks like he's starting from the pit lane. We had a couple of people do that yesterday, so that will gain back 20. So 25 incident points in a couple of weeks will massively help him going into this round and the next one at Road Atlanta as well. But it seems like the penalty point system is actually throwing a spanner in the works for some of the drivers, which I think just adds to the competitive nature of the series.
Absolutely. It's kind of, I don't think there's going to be any drivers by the end of the season who won't have had to at least take in a back of the grid penalty or like you say, extra laps in practice. I mean, 50 laps around here is a lot. You know, it's a 2-minute lap nearly. So yeah, that's well done there from Giuseppe Nazzo to be able to do that as our Porsche 911 pace car pulls away to guide 3 BMWs and a Ford before we get up to the Porsches. But can anyone stop Vincenzo Amico, Jack? I tell you what, they're going to have to work hard. We've seen G-Drive dominance to start the season, but Ben Thanes, he's got it all to do on his own here, and I think he's the man to try and keep Vincenzo at bay.
I think he is indeed, but he doesn't have his G-Drive teammate to help him this evening. Obviously a G-Drive no-show last night as well, so they're really starting to drop back in the latter stages of the season. Vincenzo going the long way around, making sure he holds everybody up very nicely. He is controlling thousands of horsepower behind him, weaving very slightly to get a bit of heat into the tyres. Boots it now, a great start, catches everybody napping. Vincenzo Amico underway here at Suzuka for round 7 of the Simracersworld GT Evo Series. Look at that, a sea of cars in the background. Vincenzo Amico still leading the way with Ben Thanes getting a little bit of pressure from Anthony Larson, Stephen De Wolf, Anton Dupin, Ronald Moons and Sven Kalber all glued together. We'll have a little look back to see how everybody's doing. It looks like everybody's got through the first section of turn 1. Stuart Musselwhite's dropping down the order. I think he just got overtaken there from Bradley Brockies in the E-Team Brit 4GT. He's got the attention of Thies van den Berg for Dynamics Racing just behind. Back up to the leader though, Vincenzo Amico. Look at that lead. He's already got 8 tenths in the first sector. I think that's just going to set the tone for the rest of the race. But Ben Thanes, we know he doesn't give up. I think it's going to be a massive job to try and shake off.
Absolutely, and Ben Thanes, he's just got to try and just go up to the pace that he's comfortable with and try and play the long game here. Because we've got a spinner, and who is that? That's Anthony Larson, our series newcomer, qualified on the second row of the grid, but he's managed to actually recover that pretty well, Jack, considering he was broadside across the track.
He has indeed made sure he kept it out of everybody's way as best he could, stayed offline as all the cars streamed past. But he's lost a load of positions now, starting in P3, now right the way down in P11. Let's make that P10, because I think he's going to get Martin Deckins here in that beautiful Dynamics Racing 4GT. I've got to say, that is a very, very nice livery aboard that Ford. Let's have a little look back to see how everybody else is getting on. There's Thies van den Berg still trying to chase down Stuart Musselwhite, who's looking up the inside of Bradley Brockies, but it looks like Brad got the better run through the first part of Spoon, but it's compromised his exit, now cutting across the front of Stuart Musselwhite in desperation to defend the position up to 130R. I think he's going to be clever to the move though, because 130R really isn't a place you want to go be overtaking on lap 1. Going in though, Stuart Musselwhite pulls out at the very last minute, I think, whether that was by choice or not. But look at this now. That's Thies van den Berg trying to make the most into the back of Bradley Brockie, sending 2 cars sideways into the chicane. That was Bradley Brockie, Stuart Musselwhite and Thies van den Berg. We'll have to have another look back there, but I'm not sure what happened. It seemed like 3 going into 1 just really wouldn't work.
Yeah, it looked to me that Thies van den Berg just got far too hot in the brakes. There you go, whack, and he actually takes 2 of them in one go, almost synchronised punting there. Well, Stuart Musselwhite will not be happy, and Brockies in the Ford will not be happy either, because that is such a typical accident as well, coming down into the Casio Triangle, that final chicane, when you get that exit just right out of 130R, you think, oh yes, oh that's brilliant, fantastic, well done me, and then you're like, oh dear, I've got to brake it for the Casio Triangle. And often it's really, really easy to just lock the brakes into there. There's a slight downhill dip just before the Casio Triangle, and that looked to me like what happened there. And unfortunately for Stuart Musselwhite and Brockies in the Ford, they paid the price there, sadly. But Kim, now it was my apologies. Now it was Thijs van den Berg might well get a penalty from the stewards for that.
Yeah, it did look very optimistic, bearing in mind it was a lap 1 move. That's a corner which is very, very tricky to overtake at in the best regards. But here's Kimber Haight now, carving his way up through the order, trying to catch onto the tail end of Matthias Sufi. Actually, I'm going to go right back up to Stephen de Wolf, though, in P3, because he's got Anton Dupin only 6/10 behind. Then Ronald Moon's chasing him down in the Porsche, and then we go back to another Porsche of Sam Baxter from Fury Simsport, who's made up 2 positions just from the start. Sven Calvert remains where he starts in P7, and John McConville up into P8, so up into the top 10, but he's got Bram van Oysven behind him. We know he is a very, very quick driver, is Bram, in the Dynamics Racing Porsche 911 RSR, going into the final chicane. Another time by, going on to lap 3 this time, through the final corner, and this is where draft will play a massive part. We'll go up to Stephen de Wolf, and we can see the train driving towards turn 1, and it's a brilliant sight because you can see 4 battles all in one shot. You've got a trio here. That's Sam Baxter, I think. No, that's Ronald Moons diving up the inside of Anton Dupin, who I think might have got him on the straight, and then Anton Dupin has dropped back once again. Ronald Moons up into P4, but that camera angle, Peter, I've got to say, it really is good because we could see 4 battles all in one shot.
Absolutely, yeah. This is what's so typically Suzuka, isn't it? It's just like a snake, right, left, all the time. And you know, as you know, Jack, I'm an enormous fan of motorcycle racing, and the biggest motorcycle race in the world is here at Suzuka, the Suzuka 8 Hour, and going through there with the lap traffic that they have across that race is incredible with the bikes, and equally as exciting here with these GT cars. And I think in those quick changes of direction, I think that's where the Porsche particularly will be pretty useful, as well as the Ford as well.
Yeah, it does look like the Ford has got a little bit extra in the high downforce corners, but let's see what happens here. Look, the Porsche's just got the drive coming out of the corners, but Anton Dupin does have the Porsche punching the hole in the air, so he will have draft assistance on the run up to Spoon Curve. You can see Ronald Moons is wise to the move, holds the car on the inside to make sure he can't carry the momentum and open up the door going into Spoon Curve. How about coming out though? Definitely tucked underneath the rear wing there. I thought there was almost going to be contact. It was very, very close if there wasn't, but Anton Dupin now putting his foot to the floor on the drive up to 130R. I want to keep an eye on this battle, but we do have others going on. We'll sit with them until 130R, and then we'll have another look back. That's the joys of iRacing. You can watch this battle and then go, actually, we want to watch that again, but with 2 different cars, so we just do. There you go, back to Matthias Sufi, hot on the heels of Dieter Ertz. Can't get the move done there. We'll go back again. This is Sandro Ballesteros for E-Team Brit with Lee Woodburn behind, chasing him down, as well as Scotty Angelo in front for Simtech Racing. A very, very busy couple of laps.
Certainly is, yeah, absolutely. A lot of drivers following very closely. Now, this is interesting. Thijs van den Berg, who was the instigator of that contact, he's got Brocky as one of the guys he took out right in front of him. And interestingly, he's quite a bit calmer on the brakes of that BMW M8 coming into the Casio triangle there. But look at this, Anton Dupin having to defend here quite furiously from Baxter in the Porsche. And oh, that allows the Ferrari of Calvert up the inside, but oh, that now the thing is, when you're battling there, you can really slow yourself up because you've got to keep that momentum up through those S's. And well, that it looked like the guys are just getting a little bit kind of mired there, trying to overtake one another through that one-line part. Actually, aptly known as the snake.
I can see why. It's just, what is it? It's a left, then a right, then a left, then a right, and then a left through Dunlop as well. So where there will come into your mechanical grip, but all as well the aerodynamic grip. You saw Sven Calvert have a little look up the inside of Sam Baxter there, and you did make a good point now. Anton Dupin is now having to defend from Sam Baxter, which only means Ronald Moons has disappeared up the road. There he is, 1.5 seconds. Bearing in mind he only overtook Anton a couple of laps ago. He's now right the way up into P4 and chasing down Stephen de Wolf for the final spot on the podium. We're going to go back to Sam Baxter though, because he has Anton Dupin back within touching distance, 3.5 tenths in front. Martin Deckens is dropping down the order. What happened there? He's sideways in the middle of Spoon Curve. We'll have a look back to see what happened. So tell us what you see, Peter.
Well, coming out of Spoon Curve, yes, just the tiniest of mistakes there. Just puts his right rear Michelin tyre I mean, even a portion of his right rear Michelin tyre onto the artificial grass on the outside of that corner. And that's just at the point when you're asking for the power again, and that just caused them to slide wide. And although these cars do have traction control, there's only so much that they can do. So unfortunately, a little bit of an error there from Deckens, but managed to keep it out the wall, which is very important. Now, interesting, Bradley Brockes has lost that place to Thijs van den Berg, and I don't think he will be. They will be best friends right now. Let's see what happens. Thijs van den Berg getting the run up towards 130R, 2x2. Often doesn't go here through this. Is 130R is certainly not a nose arc corner. Oh, Thijs van den Berg making it stick, and that's a big old car to fit through quite a small gap.
It is indeed very, very close to the edge of adhesion as well. We saw him use all the curb on the exit, which tends to spit you around, but he's managed to get the move done and continue on back up to Anton Dupin now, who's got this train forming behind him. It's not because Anton's slow, it's just because everybody else behind is battling away, and I think Anton's too busy watching in his rearview mirror because he's got Sam Baxter behind who's trying to attack on Anton, and then he's trying to defend from Sven Kalbert once he gets within reach. John McConville chasing down Sven Kalbert with Bram van Uytsven just behind as well. And then I think we get to the end of this train, but we can go back another couple of positions to Matthias Sufi, who has Dieter Ertz just in front, very, very close here for the Ferrari driver. Can he get a move done going into Spoon Curve? Goes around the outside to see whether he can carry the momentum, but nothing comes of that. I think he lost himself a bit of time, because he's now got the Flemish Sim Sports 4 GT just behind of Kimber Haight, chasing him down as well. But back up to Anton Dupin. He's got the pressure of Sam Baxter going up towards 130R. Sam throws it up the inside later on the brakes, gets the position made, parks it on the apex so Anton can't get the run out going into the final chicane, but he's much, much later on the brakes, trying to make it work around the outside. We saw it work yesterday in the GT Pro race, but messes up the final corner of the chicane, which ruins his run going on to the most important part of the circuit, onto the really long straight. So now Sven Kalbert's tucked underneath the rear wing. Anton goes defensive going up towards turn one. Sven Kalbert on the outside. We know you can carry the momentum around here. It's just how brave you can be. Can the Ferrari defend from the Ford round the outside? He's almost there, sliding his way through turn one. Now on the run up to the S's, still side by side, and Anton Dupin, he's carried the momentum around the outside and somehow manages to fend off the Ferrari of Sven Kalbert.
Brilliant racing from all concerned there. Absolutely on the limit, but good respect from all concerned, but not giving a millimetre. Fantastic. But all that has allowed Baxter in the Porsche to escape, and I have to say his move through 130R was absolutely perfect, and then very cleverly took the inside line into Casio, and that meant that Anton could not get by him. And look at that, look how many car lengths he's pulled out already as Dupin fell into the clutches of Kalbert. So this is excellent stuff here in the midfield. Now, if I may, Jack, just coming back to what Ben Thanes can do. I mean, obviously Vincenzo Amico is clearly the guy with the one lap pace under that car, but for Ben Thanes, he does have another potential ace up his sleeve. He can try to play the fuel save game, because of course they have to stop twice, and you know, there isn't massive amount of time between them right now. So although you have to stop twice, if you can save some fuel throughout his 3 stints, he might well be able to try and shorten his pit stop time and try and play that game. But in order for any of his strategies to work, he cannot afford any mistake at all, because it will be punished by Vincenzo. But he's doing all he needs to do right now, and it'll be interesting to see what his pit stop time is compared to Vincenzo Amico.
It will indeed. We know Ben has got a few aces up his sleeve with strategy, and we know he can play it very, very well. Now spent half a season with him behind the wheel of that G-Drive BMW, so he definitely knows what he's doing. Look at this, it's getting closer and closer. It was almost a slinky. Everybody from the rear end of this quartet was slowly catching up to Anton Dupin. Sven Kalbert got pretty close there. He also got a bit of a gap built on John McConville. So John now dropping back. I think that was just John getting a slightly worse run through the final chicane, meaning that Bram van Uytsven is still there or thereabouts trying to get the position made. But it's a very, very busy first 12 minutes, and bearing in mind we've seen lots of position changes, lots of action in the first 12 minutes, and with it being a 90-minute race, I think it's going to be a very, very busy race. We've had an incident for Sandro Ballesteros. Let's see what happened here. He's already in the wall at that point. So let's see if we do this. Do we catch it? He's already in the wall at that point as well. So let's try this one. What happens here? No, come on. Let's try this again. So we might actually get it here. So going through 130R. I think that's Stuart Musselwhite in the BMW just behind once again.
Big punt.
Once again, that's an E-Team Brit car in the wall in the final chicane. So Sandro Ballesteros trying to recover now, stops the car, makes sure he stays out of everybody's way, places the cone in the middle of the road. We'll go back live with him
He's at a junction there.
yeah, to see how he's getting on. Had the give way sign and did, of course, yield, but now right the way back down into P20, and Giuseppe Nazzo in front, only pulling away. Back up to this battle, though. I think this is Bram van Oitzven actually getting the position made on John McConville this time by going up towards 130R. He's got it done before he even gets there. He had the draft coming out of Spoon Curve. I want to have a look back just to see what happened. That will be this battle here. So now, yeah, coming out of Spoon Curve on the run up to 130R, he's got the better run around the outside, so it wasn't even like he was in draft. It was just he clearly negotiated Spoon Curve much quicker, and as soon as he gets into 130R, the position is but secured. But now Bram van Oitzven up into 7th position. He might have got the position made, but John McConville is in the draft range, so it's one thing to overtake, but then it's definitely another to build that gap and disappear into the distance. Speaking of gaps, though, this gap has come down. Stephen de Wolf now with Ronald Moons within a second. Ronald is on an absolute charge here.
He is, yeah. He's certainly been all action every round, has Ronald, and as you alluded to at the beginning of the broadcast, Jack, he's often been the top Porsche driver, and now clearly the 911 RSR, you know, it was really struggling before the season update a couple of weeks ago, and clearly a little bit of a break for the Porsche. I still wouldn't say it's the. Oh no, we've cursed him! Oh no! Oh, Ronald! Oh, he's just caught. Just put one wheel on the brake on the grass there, braking into the hairpin. And lovely slow motion shot here. I'm sure Ronald won't find it so lovely, but just a portion of the tyre on the grass, and that you will not get away with that. So tricky there. But again, you know, over a 90-minute race, you're going to have maybe the occasional little slip like that. And the main thing is that to ensure that it's just a little slip, that you don't end up in the wall, because that's when races do get ruined. But he can keep going again. He's still in 6th place and plenty of time to recover. Still got an hour and a quarter left to go.
Yeah, like you say, plenty of time to get those positions back. I think he only lost 2 there. Sam Baxter and Anton Dupin are now in front, but more importantly, Anton Dupin is less than a second up the road, so he will have the draft assistance going through the final chicane now on the run up towards the start finish line. The gap drops back a little bit, but it will come down once again on the run up towards turn 1. In the background, I think we saw Kimber Haight. We did indeed. Kimber Haight trying to get past Matthias Sufi, but these guys do have Martin Deckens behind to pick up the pieces if anything goes wrong, with a bit of damage on the front of his Ford GT, I think. But back up to this battle, though. Look at this Kimber Haight closing on the road to turn 1. Has a little look at the inside, lets Matteo know that he is wanting to get by, but nothing comes by this lap. But like you said, Peter, it's a very long lap, and that obviously means there are lots of overtaking opportunities. It's just whether or not you're brave enough to get them done. It's a circuit where you've definitely got to be brave to get the overtakes done. There isn't really an easy way around it, is there?
No, it's a proper driver circuit. I remember when, and apologies, name drop here, I'm sorry. I was speaking to Alan McNish a month ago or so, when I was interviewing him, and I asked him what his favourite circuit was, and he said, oh, it's definitely Suzuka. And he just says it's just such a driver's challenge. You know, there's so many high-speed corners, but then there's these kind of little tricky technical ones as well. I love that section there, the Degner 1 and Degner 2, really cool. And then round here to the hairpin, and then you've got to get hard on the brakes, and we will see mistakes there, but also you'll see some block passes there as well. There is room to stuff it up the inside, but then of course you compromise your exit coming out up towards the spoon curve. So it's an amazing circuit built by Honda in the early 1960s. Mr. Soichiro Honda wanted to have his own proper circuit, and they still own the circuit to this day, and it's one of the absolute gems anywhere in the world for racing.
It really is. Every time the Formula One calendar works its way around to Suzuka, it's definitely worth a watch, because you know it will produce some amazing racing. But look at this now, Kimber Haight still trying to get by, much closer this time. But speaking of much closer, Martin Deckens now only 0.3 off the tail of Kim, so definitely closing up, and he's definitely got the pace with the damage. Look how much he closed up on the brakes. He was basically tucked underneath the rear wing, which just shows the confidence of the Dynamics racing car. Kimber Haight now much closer in the draft assistant, so it will be accelerated the closer he gets. Now charging over the start line on the run up towards turn 1. Has another look again, lets his intentions be known, but still doesn't get the position made, and he can't hang around for too long because, like I said, Martin Deckins is there or thereabouts. Never mind there or thereabouts, he's there round the outside going into the second corner. That was very brave, cut across the nose, and Martin Deckins, there you go, position made. So I think Ford has swapped Ford, and I think Kimber Haight has gone, there you go, you have a go, I can't get past him, let's see what you can do. So I think Martin Deckins there with the position secured on the run up through Dunlop now, but Kimber Haight's closing up under the brakes on the run up to, or under the brakes on the throttle on the run up towards Degner 1, but you'll never make it work around the outside, and now through Degner 2 the position is still secured. But speaking of the Degners, Peter, I never got it out of you before we started this stream, why are they called Degner 1 and Degner 2?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, Jack. Can you tell? So the Degner curves are named after a motorcycle racer called Ernst Degner, who actually was from East Germany, and he rode for the East German state-owned motorcycle team called MZ, which there was a gentleman called Walter Kaden who basically was able to create. But basically, the two-stroke motorcycle had gone out of favour and had been replaced by the four-stroke. But Walter Kaden discovered the technology to be able to get them to work. And Walter Kaden had actually worked in Hitler's World War II secret weapons base and had developed this technology there for missiles, but then it's still transferred over to the two-stroke motorcycle. Anyway, the Ernst Degner got more and more disappointed with living in post-war East Germany and decided to escape. And he escaped with the help of Suzuki, who were desperately trying to improve their motorcycle. And they did so by helping Ernst Degner escape from East Germany, from outside, going through the Iron Curtain, and defecting to Japan, where he took the secrets from the EDZ factory and sold them to Suzuki, and then started riding for Suzuki. And that is why those two corners are called the Degners.
Well, that is definitely a story to be told to the grandkids. But we did see a change of position on the screen. Ronald Mooms working his way back up through the order, got the position made and secured well and truly on Anton Dupin. Dropped back a little bit already as Anton now 4/10 back. So Anton maybe not on the pace that we were expecting this evening. He just seems like he loses a couple of thousandths going through some of the corners, but that massively adds up on a it's a 5.75 kilometer rotation of the Suzuka circuit, so you can imagine how much time that adds up to over a lap. Sven Calbert trying to get past John McConville once again on the run up towards Spoon Curve. Can't get the move done there, but Bram van Oitveen ahead has really built that gap. Oh, well, that's not who I meant to click on, but Ronald Moons is off the road and in the gravel. Let's see what happened there. I fear he might have clipped the AstroTurf like we've seen already. There you go, clipped the AstroTurf. A little bit too confident, held the brakes and managed to keep it out the wall. Tries to get it rotated around, realises he's not going to have the room. Grabs reverse gear, puts his foot to the floor, then grabs first and does exactly the same. Continues on. I fear he's had another incident as well. I hope that's not through 130R. It might just be repeating itself. It is indeed. It's because there was the little stop there. But we'll go back live with him, and he's dropped back massively now, right the way down in P14, and he is going to be furious in the helmet. He's going to be in almost attack mode for the rest of the race now, trying to make up all the lost time. That's two mistakes we've seen for Ronald Moons now, and the first one, it was more of a test. He was going, right, yeah, you've made the mistake now, you've lost a couple of positions, don't do it again. And well, he did it again and lost all the positions. So from what was a confident P3 for the moment, he's dropped right the way down, now out of the top 10. So Ronald Moons, he's got all the work to do.
Yeah, he will. He'll be really disappointed with that, and I'll tell you who also will be very disappointed with that. He'll be crying into his pint right now. Will be Luke Holroyd from our sponsor Porsche Sport. Of course, Luke is the main man behind Porsche Sport. Very kindly sponsored this series, and of course, every Thursday we have the Porsche Sport podcast, which covers this series and many others. And Jack, we were this week we were right up on our high horse, whinging about Porsche's and less than favourable balance of performance at Le Mans last weekend.
I'm not sure what this wee stuff is, Peter. My Wi-Fi decided to stop me from from joining the Skype call. I did get in at the start, and then it went, yeah, well, you've shown yourself, bye, and I decided to turn itself off. But we have got all the issues sorted, I hope, this evening. I hope the stream is of a good quality. But yeah, it's definitely worth a listen to, is the Porsche Sport podcast with Luke Holroyd, Cat MP, and of course Peter MacKay in the commentary box with me this evening, and occasionally me when my Wi-Fi decides to play ball. But speaking of Porsches, Ronald Moons, all this lost time that he's got to make up, but it's so tricky to gain time here. Up the road though, Matthias Sufi looking to defend from Martin Deckins, but Martin does have the inside side by side through one dead TR. They don't make contact and still continue on, and I think Martin Deckins might have the position. I say that, but now Matthias Sufi's got the inside. I thought that was very late on the brakes. Outbrakes himself into the chicane, waits at the junction again, gives way to the cars on the way, and a load of positions lost for Matthias Sufi right the way down from P10 to P14. That's a position made for Ronald Moons, but it seemed like a little bit too easy for Martin Deckins there. I was hoping for a perfect overtake going through turn one if he didn't get it done through the final chicane, but not what we like to see. Kimber Hates still following on. Anthony Larson making amends for the previous incident as well. We're going to go back up the road a little bit to John McConville, who's still defending from Sven Kalbert. I say that as we look at him, have we given him the curse? I think he might have run a little bit wide through Dunlop on the run up towards Degner 1, and Sven Kalbert has worked his way by before he even gets there, and then into Degner 2. There you go, position secured. As long as there's no overlap going into Degner 2, it's pretty much made. And I don't know what it is about the curse this evening, but it's extra strong, isn't it, Peter?
I think so. I think. Do you think if we wore a mask and had a track and trace app while we're behind the mic, it might get a little less infectious?
I hope so.
Sorry,
I'm sure the drivers do.
That's not a good one. We have a comment on the YouTube chatting with us. Jack Yop Delight says that it says, did you know that the circuit Suzuka was designed by a Dutchman? We did, yes. Designed by John Hugenholtz, who also designed the wonderful Zandvoort circuit, and he knew when he was getting the contract. All that happened was in 1961, Hugenholtz received a telegram that simply read, "I'm building a circuit, please come to Tokyo, full stop, Soichiro Honda." And that was it. So that's what he did.
There you go. That's one way to get work. I'm sure if you got something like that today, it goes straight into your spam folder. But it was much simpler back then. And who would have turned that down if you get contacted by Honda to say, yeah, we're building a circuit. Come on your way. You're not gonna turn that down in a month of Sundays. But Sam Baxter still with his hands full, catching up to Stephen the Wolf. And I know we've just looked away from this battle, but we're gonna have to go back to it. Kimber Haight looks up the inside going into turn one, and once again it's like he doesn't really have the confidence in himself or the car to get the position made going into turn one. I understand that it's very easy to say that when I'm sat here commentating, but I'm sure it is quite a scary prospect going in towards turn one at north of 200 k's, trying to get an overtake done. But that little bit of lost time there pulling out of that move means that Ronald Moons is trying to get by. You can see him using all of the road. You can just see in the car's body language that he's desperate to get by through Dunlop now for the 14th time on the way to Degner 1. This is very much a one-way affair for everybody. But on the run up to the hairpin, the gap might open up. Ronald Moons using all the track and a little bit extra there. Lost him a bit of time and didn't get the best run out of Degner 2, but he does have the draft assistance on the run up to the hairpin. Has a little look up the inside, but nothing there. Very close to the tail end of that Ford GT, but to see this quality of racing not even a third of the way to the race, it just sets the tone for the rest of it, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think our drivers have been practicing, Jack, because this for me is the best race of the season so far. Some excellent wheel-to-wheel battling. Now for Ronald Moons, he has a couple of options here. Obviously he is a little bit out of sequence, shall we say. He has more pace than 13th place. He's displayed that quite clearly already. Now for him, of course, we know that the drivers need to take 2 pit stops over the course of the race, and he is now at the point where he could take his pit stop and then still, be able to just have those 2 stops. And I think for him, this might be a good time for him to get in and try and get in some clean air, because at the moment, this is slowing him down multiple seconds from what his potential pace is. So I think for him to try and climb up, he might have to kind of take that investment, get into the pits. Oh, steady Eddie's in the wall. Oh, dear, dear, dear. Oh, Anton. Oh, that's... Oh. So he comes through the first Degner, no problem. Second Degner just gets very, very wide onto the gravel and then whack. Oh, dear me. That is and then, of course, straddled across, and I think that was Bram van Uytven did very, very well to keep out the back of Anton's Ford there.
But, yeah, great reaction times from van Uytven in that Porsche to avoid steady Eddie Anton, but not being very steady already this evening. In fact, he's clipped the wall. It looked like he was just going to graze it, but it did grab the rear left, and it flung him round. Goes through Degner 2 this time, much more cautious, decides to keep it out of the gravel this time by, but yet more positions lost for a front runner. Ronald Moons has gone off the road. Let's see what happened here. Once again, Degner 1 does it. Get another victim, another mistake from Ronald Moons. Sideways, spins his car through 180 degrees, keeps his foot planted to the floor. Style points obviously go to Ronald, but more positions lost. All his hard work, he puts in all the effort to get back up, and then just makes a mistake. And I don't want to put anything against Ronald Moons, but that's all the signs of overdriving your car, isn't it?
Oh, he was, yeah, that went very early. He was miles away from the apex, far too quick in. And the only thing is, those two Degner corners, they're so satisfying to get right that they really do egg you on. It's like the little devil on your shoulder saying, go on, go quicker, put your foot down, go for it. And when you get it right, oh, it's so satisfying. But when you get it wrong, as Ronald Moons just demonstrated, it's pretty spectacular. So, well, a few of our key front runners dropping away, Anton Dupin and Ronald Moons, but it's been a good run so far from John McConville for Simracersworld so far, Jack. Roger Roots will be happy with this one, the team owner and channel owner and series owner.
Yes, he will indeed. John McConville around the outside, a massive moment for Anton Dupin was that. That was very, very scary. I've got to have a look back at that. That was incredibly scary. We'll have a look at it in...
That was
no, we won't.
Senna and Prost.
Yeah, so we'll go back up to full speed, but you see, does he lose it on the way in? Going into turn 1 now, turns in to get the car planted. It looks like he just runs out of road, and a big hit onto the curb, just avoids McConville by millimetres, and then straight across the gravel into the wall, very, very hard, and I do fear that is the end of Anton's race into the pit lane. And yes, we aren't picking up any live pictures from him, so it does mean he's out of the race as well. So Anton, his race has gone from bad to worse, but someone's race that's got better is John McConville. He managed to get past Anton Dupin and now doesn't have to defend from him either, but he might have to defend from the Dynamics duo behind of Dieter Aert and Sven Kalber, both chasing down the Simracersworld Esports BMW. So that gap will be one to keep an eye on. But back up to the front now, this gap is definitely shrinking. Stephen de Wolf for Dynamics Racing is very, very quickly coming under pressure from the Fury Simsport Porsche of Sam Baxter. And we've seen this battle develop and develop and develop. And he's got to the point where it's got to reach a turning point, and definitely not into the final chicane. That's not that's not what I was hinting at. But Sam Baxter, he's either got to make the move in the opening in the coming laps, or he's got to make it on strategy, because he'll run out of time otherwise. It's all well and good sitting behind, but if you do it for too long, there you go, the race is gone. But we've still got an hour left, so plenty of time for him to make the move. But we know how big strategy, or how big of a difference strategy can make. And it looks like he gains going into the corners, but then coming out of the corners, all the time he's gained has been lost. Marius Jank has had an incident. Peter, tell us what you see.
So, the Manitai racing car of Marius Janka, just pinches the brake. You could just tell he's like, oh, I'm braking a little bit late here, and rather than run on, just decided to try and turn it in. But the car said no, and the Michelin tyre said no. But just a tiny little one, that won't be too much of a problem. But Sam Baxter, I tell you what, he's my driver of the day so far, really charging hard at the wheel of that Fury Simsport Porsche. And you'll see the logos on there, Midas Simulations. That's our good friend Matthew Dorrington, who is a championship contender in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Series, which we have here on Simracersworld TV. And I have to say that one of the most spectacular looking cars. Reminds me of the old, and this probably is a view into my brain, reminds me of the old Tequila Patron livery cars.
got to say, I'm sure if you showed me a picture, I'd recognise it. But
Don't
on
pretend you don't know what
no,
tequila
no,
Patron is.
I can't link it. Oh, right, the LMP2s. Yes, I remember seeing that livery on an LMP2 a while back. I think. I know I've seen it on a GT. Or
Have
in
you seen
some.
it behind the bar in your local nightclub as well?
Yeah, obviously. But Thane's now peeling off into the pit lane on lap 18. The klaxon goes off, stamps on the brakes, making sure he doesn't get a penalty. But I think he might have either been into the pit lane a little bit too quickly and did pick up the penalty. Stephen DeWolf goes into the pit lane now. Does he get it slowed down? That's another car that's braking even after he passes the pit cones, so I think that could be a couple of penalties to be served. But Sam Baxter goes up to take P2. I think we've had an incident for Scotty Angelo. We have indeed. He was charging up the order very, very well. Nothing's popped up on the timing screen, so I don't think we will be able to have a look back. Let's have a look this time. Oh, does he get help
Oh,
from
one of
behind?
the
I
one of the
think,
Dynamics cars
yeah,
there.
I think it was Thijs van den Berg.
Oh, Thijs van den Berg. Well,
Ooh.
he is. Has he? Oh, I think I maybe just heard a little bit of contact there. And for Thijs van den Berg, he's been involved in a couple of incidents. Now, you couldn't put that one down to him, but he has made contact with cars a few times. And as you mentioned, the number of incident points is so important in this series because for our viewers who are not aware of the iRacing incident and or safety rating system, it's an incredibly clever piece of technology. Basically, it measures automatically your driving conduct. So if you step over track limits or if you go off the track, you will be given 1 incident point. If you spin the car, you will get 2 incident points. Or if you make contact with the wall. Or if you, the worst one is the big red card, is if you make contact with another driver, and that is 4 incident points. Now, Jack, forgive me, remind me how many points the drivers have for the entire season here in the
60.
Simracers World.
Only
60.
60.
So not enough, basically.
Yeah, it's definitely a skill if you can do all 10 rounds of this season and remain under the 60-point limit. But thankfully, we do have ways of getting them back. Like we've already mentioned, we think it was Giuseppe Nazzo this evening that has made the most of the incident points you can gain back in practice. So midweek in the off week in between the scheduled rounds, we do have a practice session, and if you complete a minimum of 50 laps, you gain back 5 incident points. If you start at the back of the grid, you gain back 10, and if you start in the pit lane, you gain back 20. So a massive gain back for everybody if you gain a little bit too many going into the start of the season. Vincenzo Amico has been into the pits and he's on his way back out. Martin Deckens hasn't been in the pit lane so far, so I'm not sure how he's managing this, but it seems like everybody's all dived into the pit lane at the same time. Ben Thames crosses the line now, P3 on the road, but P2 once all is said and done. But I want to keep an eye on that man there. Has he managed to stay in front of the Fury Simsport Porsche of Sam Baxter? How good was Sam's outlap? I don't think it was good enough. Leaves the pit lane now, and I think that gap is going to be exactly how we left it. No, it's not. Sam Baxter holds the inside line, defends as hard as he can onto the way into the corner, makes sure that the boat of a BMW can't get by, but Sam will have had that little bit of downtime, so his brain might have wandered a little bit, so he's got to make sure he gets back into his rhythm pretty sharpish because Stephen DeWolf is tucked underneath his rear wing. So position swapped, but for how long? Stephen DeWolf, we know he's very, very good on the attack. Ronald Moons has left the pit lane now, so he is still trying to recover all of those lost positions from earlier on. Up the road, though, we've got Anthony Larson trying to defend from Kimber Haight. These two are the closest cars on circuit. I tell a lie because Hendrik de Grave and Bradley Brockies are side by side. So E-Team Brit on Flemish Simsports, or sorry, I think it's Flemish Simsports on E-Team Brit. They now pass the very, very slow Sandro Ballesteros. So I think he might have overestimated the size of his fuel tank. But Bradley Brockies, that's definitely a mouthful. I think he manages to fend off the Flemish Simsport 4 GT. Both of these drivers have pitted, so that was a position made overall. Up to Martin Deckens, though. Surely he has got to go into the pit lane this time by. We will have to look at Sandro. Yeah, it does look like the car is jumping around. I think he might have run out of fuel there.
Sorry, Jack. Just one thing I just spotted there. I have just a suspicion. It'd be interesting if we could possibly get a replay if we can. Is Sam Baxter exiting the pit lane there? Just looked. I don't know where iRacing draw the line, but he did certainly put at least a wheel across the pit exit line, which can give you a penalty if it deems you've gone across it too early. So brilliant work, excellent job. So let's have a look then. Sam Baxter's exiting pit lane. He can obviously see that the Dynamics BMW is coming up and it's getting very, very close. So there is the blend line, is that blue line there you see. And I don't actually know if you have to have the whole car across it or what, or if it's just if you touch it. Don't know. But that will be interesting to see if iRacing's given him a penalty or not.
From experience, I think it runs off the same sort of dynamic as the off-track rule. It's got to be half the car over the white line, which I think might apply to the pit exit line as well, but all will be revealed. Sam Baxter has crossed the line, so he's gone on to lap 19, so I don't think he will have a penalty, but he does have 3 laps to serve it, so we will keep an eye out on him over the next couple of laps. But look at this, Hendrik de Graeve for Flemish Sim Sports once again back alongside Bradley Brocky's on the run up to 130R, but it looks like he just runs out of puff on the way. But let's see what happens. Yeah, he brakes a little bit early, so comes to the move, but that has left him vulnerable on the exit. Can Scotty Angelo in the beautiful Simtech Racing BMW get the position made? No, has a little look, but decides better of it going into the final chicane. But it looks like Hendrik de Graeve got the much better run. What's happening there? Both cars going into the pit lane almost. Making contact. I think I heard a little bit between the pair of them. Yeah, so Bradley Brockie slowing down a little bit too early for Hendrik de Grave's liking. So maybe Hendrik had done the extra couple of pit lane entry practices to make sure he can nail his pit entry, but I don't think Bradley Brockie's was as comfortable. But both of them go into the pit lane this time by. Both of them have already pitted once, so this is the second time they've gone into the pit lane. Maybe they've got a penalty of some sort, I'm not sure, but that's quite an odd show of hand this early on in the race. Marius Janka has been into the pit lane twice, and I think he started from the pit lane as well, so he has gained back 20 incident points in that Manatee BMW, but it has left him right at the bottom end of the order. And I'm just looking, he's gained 5 positions. The biggest mover in the field so far is the man just in front, Giuseppe Nazzo. 9 positions made for Giuseppe, so obviously he's gained back a couple or 5 incident points in the off week and then 20, and this is still a very, very strong showing from the Italian. And if he can continue his form on for another 40 to 50 minutes, he will be in a very comfortable position come the end of the race. But back up to this battle. No, this is not the battle I meant to click on. Back up to this battle. Ronald Moons and Matthias Sufi still battling away, and I think Ronald has decided just to ease it back a little bit, minimise the mistakes, and let the race come to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, Giuseppe Nazzo doing a great job there. And actually, I think him starting from pit lane and the way we've seen this race, a lot of people getting held up through the kind of narrower sections. But Giuseppe, because he's sort of out of sequence, he's been able just to, and I'm sure he will have his kind of safety rating on his mind, is actually meaning that he's turning out some really clean, consistent laps and then just climbing his way up the field as others makes mistakes. So we'll keep an eye on him because he's really putting a good race together. But for Ronald Moons, well, he's been spinning around plenty times, but back up to 13th place, so not too bad indeed. But I can't imagine he'll want to stand behind Matteo Sufi for much longer. Not because Matteo Sufi is slow, quite the opposite, but just because he will not be able to stand looking at that hideous Chance Raycott media sticker any longer.
We had to get it in at some point. And if you don't follow Chaz on any of the social media, and if you weren't here last night for the GT Pro Series race, also here at Suzuka, you wouldn't have heard us mention that Chaz, as we speak, is at Nürburgring. He flew out this morning from Manchester to Frankfurt and is now at the Nürburgring for the total 24 hours of Nürburgring with ADAC. So massive well done to Chaz for securing that gig, and best of luck for it as well. We know it can be a very strenuous race. I struggled to drive a lap without keeping it or without hitting a wall, so I'm not sure how you're going to do a full commentary stint there, but massive well done, and you've got everybody's support behind you. But back to this battle though, Ronald Moon's in the draft, he is closing, we saw him at that previous camera angle, he gets shown the outside a little bit there, but is he going to throw the car to the inside, have a late look? Nope, not this time. He is carrying a slight bit of damage on that Porsche, but Matthias Sufi goes very, very wide, has a lock-up and misses the first apex, miles away from the second apex, and job done for Ronald Moons, another position gained. I was going to say that damage looks rather insignificant, but having driven it at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, at the 24 Hours of Daytona as well, the tiniest bit of damage can make all the difference in that Porsche, because every piece of aerodynamic sort of plane on that Porsche really does make all the difference. It's been developed in such a great way that even if you lose one of those little canards, it can make a massive difference. But Ronald Moon's showing that, yeah, he's got all the aerodynamics, but he don't want to use them. Throws it sideways into Degner 1, gets the position, or gets the slide collected up, and then sliding his way into the hairpin, sliding his way round the hairpin and to a full stop, holds the brakes. And that's another mistake from Ronald Moons. I really do feel for him. He's just gained a position for free. He's got all the hard work to do to catch up, and then this time it won't get gifted to him. I can guarantee Matteo Sufi makes sure that he goes a long way around. And it's just not what you want to see, is it? We know Ronald has got the potential. It's just not really his race tonight, is it?
No, I wonder if maybe it's a setup issue, because it seems like the car is very, very loose. It seems to go on him very early. I mean, certainly through Degner, where we saw him have one spin earlier on, and there he had a very nearly spin, and he saved it very well. Thierry Neuville style, his fellow Belgian World Rally Championship driver. But yeah, it just seems that I wonder if it's maybe a setup issue where he's got the car maybe a little bit too trimmed out. I mean, to be honest, here at Suzuka, you just want to have as much aero as you possibly can, because although whatever you give up on the straights, you just need all that grip in the corners. You see it when the Formula One guys come here, they just love it because they can lean on the aero of those Formula One cars. And for the GTs is obviously a bit different, but the more aero, the better, really. And I just feel he's maybe got that car a little bit too trimmed out.
Yeah, it does look like it, but Martin Dekins trying to trim the fat here, but that side-to-side contact, Martin Dekins continues on. Kimber Haight picks up the position, and Anthony Larson drops way back. I think that was both cars going for the same piece of tarmac through the S's, which isn't really an overtaking opportunity. We'll have a look back to see what happened. Is this the one we want? No, this is Ronald Moon's incident. Sorry, Ronald, we didn't mean to look at that again. Anthony Larson will ride on board with him up the inside. Does he wash out? He does. I know he's got to follow the road, but I've got to say, if I was in Anthony's seat at this point, I probably wouldn't have gone for that move. It's very, very risky through the S's. Ronald Moon's up towards the hairpin now, does get round it cleanly this time, and he has brought the gap down to Matteo Sufi ahead. The battle's still raging on up the road. Sven Kalbert and John McConville still nose to tail. I think that position has changed actually, because, correct me if I'm wrong, the last time we looked it was John McConville ahead of Sven Kalbert.
I think it was. I think you're right, Jack. Your memory is much better than mine. So let's have a look. Yes. There you go. So just a tiny mistake there from John McConville coming out of the second Degner, but crucially, as we've seen a lot of people go in the wall there, the wall is incredibly close. So he did well to keep that out there, and looks like Calbert actually ran a little bit wide there, but able to hold on to the position. I have to say, Sven Kalbert's Dynamics Racing Ferrari looks absolutely superb. Those sort of gold wheels just look absolutely brilliant with the red and black. Very, very nice indeed. Of course, there's not many ugly Ferraris, is there? It's a wonderful, wonderful looking car, that 488, and of course did very, very well at Le Mans last weekend in the hands of the Iron Dames, the all-girls team, who did very well getting in the top 10 in that Ferrari.
They did, indeed. But I held my breath for a small moment there. I want to have a look back, and you can't tell me that you weren't slightly scared at this point. Going into the first corner, Ronald Moons does get past Matthias Sufi, but look how close. No, that's not what I wanted to click. We were about to see it. Let's go back. Sorry about this, everybody. Let's go back to the overtake. I'm going to put it in slow motion just so you can see how close they get. Getting closer and closer and closer. Matthias Sufi aiming for the apex, slams on the brakes. I think that might have been a 0x. Just to how close that those two were. That was rather scary. Very committed from Matthias Sufi, not wanting to give up the position, but Ronald Moon's now up another position, up into P12 overall, P7 in class. I think we've had an incident for Marius Janka a short while ago. Let's see what happened here. Going through Spoon Curve, does he hit the Astro? He does indeed. That's now the 4th driver we've seen get caught out, I think, by the AstroTurf. Grabs a gear and gets going again before the traffic behind approaches. And there we go. Another mistake at Spoon Curve. Ronald Moon's now negotiating Spoon Curve, does keep it off the AstroTurf and continues on. But I've got to say, with his current track record, I think another incident or a slight mistake might be on the way, whether it's just a little lock-up or a full spin again. But Ronald Moons, he's got the position made for the moment. And with still another pit stop to go, it can all unravel, but it can all go in his favour as well, because if he plays his cards right, he can get back up in towards a top 10 finish. Speaking of the top 10 now, this is the battle for P7. John McConville still battling with a Dynamics car, but this time it's swapped and it's Dieter Ertz behind.
Yeah, it is. We see Dieter Ertz in at the moment, well, in 8th place in one of 3 Porsches in the top 8. So a big improvement in fortunes for the Weissach brand, with this wonderful 4-litre flat 6 500 horsepower monster that is the Porsche 911 RSR, and putting a lot of pressure on McConville here. But yeah, that move was really good there from Ronald Moons, putting it up the inside into turn 1. And Matthias Sufi did a great job leaving just a car's width and no more, giving the space but making it hard, making Ronald Moons work hard for it. But you could almost see, if you went for an onboard camera, that slow motion with him, it was a great shot there. You could almost hear Matteo Sufi going no as he was losing the position.
I think somebody else that was screaming no there was John McConville, because his heart must have been in his mouth at this point. We will put it, actually no, we won't put it in slow motion, but through deck no one misses the apex on the gravel almost, but continues on. The BMW rumbling away in the background. But I'm not sure how he kept that pointing in a straight line with it being such a high G corner on the exit. But he keeps the position from Dieter Ertz. In the background, we've got a battle as well. There is there is Kimber Haight. A little further back, though, we've got Anthony Larson, Kimber Haight is chasing down Martin Deckins, and then back up towards the battle we were looking at is Dieter Ertz looking to the outside of John McConville. I don't think he's going to get it slowed down quick enough to get the move done around the outside. Has to hold on for another lap. Going on to the start-finish straight again. Can Dieter Ertz get the position made going up towards turn 1? He will have the draft assistance from the big old BMW in front. Up towards turn 1, the gap is a little too big for him to make a move. In the background, though, Martin Deckins trying to get past Kimber Haight. Nothing can happen there, and I've got to say, that Dynamics livery, it just works on that. I think just this shot here, that my favourite livery, the Flemish Sim Sports livery, on probably my favourite car, or well, my favourite car to look at, that 4GT, with then the Dynamics 4GT in the background. It's just, that's a perfect shot, that.
Can you imagine if it was at Brands Hatch? You would be having a full-on, wouldn't you, Jack?
Oh God, Brands Hatch. We need to speak to Roger Rees to see whether we can get a media day or something, a cool down. Yeah. Oh God, like an end of season party.
BOP test.
Yeah, BOP test. Let's just call it that. Come up with an excuse to drive around Brands Hatch for sure. If you weren't aware, and if you didn't pick up on it, Brands Hatch is my favourite circuit of all time. Whether it's on iRacing, any other simulator, or real life, it's just the perfect track. And I've got to say, Peter, you had the enjoyment, I guess, of hearing my reaction of 911 Cup cars at Brands Hatch for the season finale of the Porsche Club GB Season 1, and obviously Season 2's running its way through at the moment as well. Tell us what you think about, obviously, the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Championship. With it being Season 2, we know almost, we've got a bit of an idea of how the drivers will react to the cars, but is it closer than last season, a little bit further away than last season, or is it just like a complete hot swap? There's still battles, but with drivers we've never seen before. Let us know what's going on in that championship.
Well, it was certainly, if you remember the opening round of Season 1 at Donington, if you remember the reverse grid, Jack, do you remember the how it was like about 10 plane crashes at once? Yeah, there was kind of a bit of that going on, but yeah, what was my biggest takeaway was that it's still the main protagonists at the front: Ryan Parkins, Matthew Dorrington, Gavin Halls, but Dan Baddy, by far and away the most improved racer from the very short off season between season 1 and season 2. He's made a huge step, and he's right up there on pace with the very quickest guys. Ryan Parkins, the King Hippo himself, right up with him. So it's that's been one thing, but the opening round was at Barcelona, Catalonia, but on the national circuit, which is I mean, it is really, really tight, and that did cause a few issues. But next time we're off to Silverstone, we're on the national circuit at Silverstone. It's a similar idea, but as we saw in season 1, the drivers get more and more comfortable as the season goes on, and we're going to some excellent tracks, including one of my absolute favourites, which is Road Atlanta. So great that we're going to get to have a round there, and I think that'll be some good racing. But good to see some new protagonists in the championship, and we even have one particular driver who used to race in the Lotus Elise Cup with none other than Boyzone's Shane Lynch.
Well, the more you know, but I've got to say it is definitely worth a watch. Is the Porsche Club GB Season 2, and like you say, the next round at Silverstone. Is it this? No, it's next week, isn't it? Next Wednesday, the 30th of September. Is round 2, but look at this now. Kimber Haight coming back for round 2 on John McConville on the way around the outside of 130. Has a little look. John McConville's wise to the move, clips the grass just about, but manages to negotiate 130R still on the black stuff. John McConville leading Kimber Haight, leading Martin Deckens, and Anthony Larson trying to make amends for the earlier incidents. He won't be best pleased with Kimber Haight, so I can imagine it won't be a friendly affair. Oh, sorry, with Martin Deckens, so I can imagine it won't be a friendly affair with those two. But look at this, John McConville right to the inside of the track, kicking up all the dust on the run up towards turn 1, and still the order remains the same for the moment. Martin Deckens has a look to the outside of Kimber Haight, but I'm not sure how everybody managed to get round there, bearing in mind we were side by side by the looks of it, but it's still led by John McConville, who at the moment only seems to be losing the positions he gained at the start of the race, which isn't great to see. So he might be a little bit of underlying damage, or like you mentioned earlier with the setup, it could be quick for the first half of the race, but then slowly starts to drop off. Obviously the pit window will be opening in around 10 minutes time for all the drivers to make their second of 2 pit stops. Anthony Larson up the inside of Martin Deckens, also I thought up towards Degner 1, pulls out of the move, decides it's not going to happen there. But to see this battle, this 4-car battle, over or almost over an hour into the race. Look at this now, Kimber Haight desperate trying to get by John McConville. We've seen so many battles like this, Peter, but it seems like as soon as one stops, another one fires up again, and this is another one with a completely different aspect. You've got a BMW at the front and the rear, and the Ford's pretty much the filling in the sandwich, and this is where we see which drivers can overtake at different points in the circuit.
Yeah, you can see there how much easier the Fords can turn, but once the BMW, as long as you can block the apex with the big BMW and then get back on the power, and we really saw John McConville pull away going up the hill there, whereas the two Fords are really struggling quite a bit to keep with the pace of the BMW in the straight line. But once we get here to 130R, this is a proper Ford corner here, using all that aerodynamics. But I tell you what, John McConville hustling that BMW M8 really, really well, and then onto in the braking as well. It's a pretty heavy car to try and, well, actually not actually heavier in weight, but more cumbersome, you could say, in its handling dynamics, mainly because of the kind of body shape of it as well. But yeah, John McConville doing a great job here, bearing in mind that he's a bronze driver and the two guys behind him are silvers, so this is really, really good from the number 12 BMW. But how are we doing with Vincenzo Amico and Ben Thanes? What is the gap looking like right now on our timing screens?
So the gap in between Vincenzo Amico and Ben Thanes is now 11 seconds. You can see everybody's gap from the leader, and only the top 6 within a minute, and only the top 15 on the same lap. So it just shows the dominance of Vincenzo Amico. The next target for him is that Porsche we've just seen a little bit further up in the distance of Giuseppe Nazzo, who's still gaining positions, now up 10 positions from where he started. So a very, very good showing from the Ronin Simsport Academy driver, but he will have to give way to Vincenzo Amico, who is definitely on his way. Now Ben Thanes still trying to make inroads on the lead, but he's losing little by little. Now the gap's up to 12 seconds. Sam Baxter 20 seconds back from Ben Thames, but with no danger from behind. 7.8, best part of 8 seconds to Stephen de Wolf for Dynamics Racing, who is 10 seconds ahead of his Dynamics Racing teammate, Bram van Uitven, who has got a sizable gap back to Sven Kalber. And then the only real battle that we get back to is the battle for 8th position, which we've seen so much of. John McConville now with Kimber Hay up the inside, going through the exit of Spoon Curve. It looks like the BMW's got the grunt off the corner on the run up towards 130R. What can Kimber Hay do? He will have the draft assistance, but I don't think the confidence is there. There's been a change of position in the background because Anthony Larson is now in front of Martin Deckins, who had a very, very sideways moment coming through 130R. We'll have to have a look back to see what happened there, but John McConville still somehow in front of Kimber Hay, Anthony Larson and Martin Deckins, who is definitely tucked underneath the rear wing. There's no other word for it. We'll get the camera angle of John McConville so you can see this. It is a 4-car battle, but it's like 2-2s at this point, isn't it? They're a battle for the front half and a battle for the back half, because John McConville has got his mirrors full of Kimber Haight, and I think Anthony Larson is more occupied with keeping Martin Deckins behind, but obviously Martin is carrying that damage as well, so he is definitely doing a good job in the dirty air of the BMW to keep it on the road. Anthony Larson, who almost went off the road there, using all the track and a little bit extra. He seems to be running a little bit wide through the S's, but then gaining it all back on the exit. So slightly different lines on show, and there you go. That 4-car battle has turned back to 2-2s once again, but back up to the front of it though. John McConville, he's driving a brilliant defensive race, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. Using all the attributes of the just a little bit wide there from John, and that's allowed Kimber Haight through. And will Larson follow through? Will he? No. McConville goes up the inside, a little bit of lock up there, and then no, a whack there from oh my, that's bad manners.
Yeah, not what we want to see there. Everybody collecting each other. John McConville decides that will be the end of his race. So a good battle, sadly, coming into that. I think this might be something we saw not so long, but there you go. So we ran wide coming out of Degner 2, and then everybody goes streaming by on the brakes. He's up the inside, locks up a little bit, and then cuts back towards the apex, and there's no room for him there. And then I think that was the Dynamics car, maybe just not expecting the SRW car to still be there, and then it's very much a domino effect. Everybody comes back together. I hope there wasn't any retaliation from anybody there, but John McConville does return to the pit lane, and I think he might be out of the session. But we still have the battle going on with Martin Deckins, if we actually get to some live pictures. There we go. So Martin Deckins and now Ronald Moons chasing him down, but it looks like Martin might have picked up an extra little bit of damage there because he's losing more and more time on the straight. Obviously, it will be Ronald in the draft as well, but we still have battles going on. I think that's the most important bit. Just gloss over what has just happened. We don't like to see it, but it happens. But Ronald Moons trying to carve his way back up through the order.
If possible, Jack, it would be excellent to get an onboard there of Deckins' view of things, because it might have been that he just had nowhere to go with McConville coming across him, and he was already committed to the corner of Martin Deckins. Brilliant, excellent stuff. So this is riding on the front nose, so he sees all this going on, knows McConville's got a little bit stuck there. Larson goes to the right in that white and black machine, so he's he's preparing himself for a good line, and then not a great deal Martin could have done there, and then he gets turned around. Absolutely nothing he could have done. Just one of those really unfortunate, like you said, domino effect accidents.
Yeah, it seemed like it was very unintentional from everybody involved, just all the cars going for the same piece of tarmac and bouncing off each other in an unfortunate way. So lots of innocent parties in that battle. But look at this now. Ronald Moons got very, very close to the tail end of Martin Deckins, and I think got a little bit scared, slammed on the brakes trying to avoid the incident. Obviously the best thing to do, which did lose him time, but thankfully there wasn't another incident there. Ronald Moons with the time lost, but it's been a long while since no, I'm not going to say it. He's now back up into the top 10, trying to get back up into P9 as we start to enter the time in the race where people will be thinking about how long they go on this tank of fuel. Do they dive into the pit lane in the coming laps to refuel? Obviously, normally you can drag one of these cars out about to this point on one full tank of fuel, but with this series. It's not a full tank of fuel. You do have a 60% fuel cell limit. Look at this now. Ronald Moons, he had the draft assistance, dives to the inside on the run up towards turn 1. Gets the position made on the brakes. Can Martin Deckins get anything in the way of a comeback, of a cutback? Nope. So Ronald Moons gaining a position. So the number 69 Racemasters Esports Porsche back up another position up into P9. We do have a battle going on in the background between Thies van den Berg and Marius Janker, and I think this position just changed. Let's have a look back, Peter.
Yeah, let's have a look then. Coming into 130R, side by side, 2 big BMWs going through a very narrow blind entry. Through they go. Hang on. So yeah, Marius Janker gets, he toughs it out there, and then Janker's got to get on the anchor into the Casio chicane there and gets it done. Now, coming back to your point about the pit stops, of course, this is around the time we should expect some drivers to come into pit lane to take their second and final stop of the race. They can get home from here. The fuel cell should give up to about 40 minutes or so of fuel. So with 27 minutes to go, we're in the safe zone there. For me, it's all about track position. If you've got open track position, run the tank until it's dry. But if you're getting held up by someone in any way, then might be a time to sort of hop out of sequence. And just, for me, the clean air, particularly at this circuit, is so important.
Yeah, it really is. Like you mentioned, this is a circuit where aerodynamic, or just the aerodynamic grip from your car is definitely well worth it. If you've got a car which is tuned in mechanically, it's great, but if you've got it tuned in aerodynamically, it's even better. And like you say, if it's a circuit which requires lots of aerodynamic grip, if you get in the dirty air, that pretty much halves, if not a bit more, of all of that downforce that you are gaining, or that you are getting. So it can be maybe a corner missed, and maybe even off the road if you get too close to the tail end of the car in front. But it looks like for the moment everybody is keeping it under control, and there's always a point in the race, everybody, where all the drivers start to spread out, and we've sadly got to that point a little earlier than I wanted, Peter. But looking at the timing screen, the closest cars we've got out on track, I think, is the battle we're looking at. 1.7 seconds up to Marius Janker, who is 1.7 seconds, what make that 1.5, 1.4 on the brakes, up to Giuseppe Naso. So I hope that Marius Janker puts his foot to the floor and gains a little bit more, and he is 1.2 seconds now up to Giuseppe Naso. So thank you for saving us, Marius. If you're watching this back, you've managed to make a battle, so we do actually have something to watch, Peter.
We do indeed, and of course this. I'm so glad that we got to come to the Suzuka circuit on the schedule, because it is just a wonderful, wonderful place, and incredible how the circuit was designed. Basically, Honda bought out a number of local farms and basically told the designer, the Dutchman John Hugenholtz, basically just said, "You tell us where you want the circuit to go, and we'll figure out the rest." And when John Hugenholtz returned, the whole area had been flattened, ready for him to design his perfect circuit, and this is what we have. And one of certainly the highlight for sports car racing fans is the Suzuka 1000 kilometers, which actually ran on 46 occasions, but not a Japanese manufacturer that was the most successful. In fact, surprise, surprise, it was Porsche who have won 11 out of the 46 runnings of the Suzuka 1000 kilometers, which in the latter part of its running was part of the Japanese Super GT Championship, and a number of Le Mans winners also won that particular race.
Well, it's very off colour for Porsche, because they never win anything, do they? No, Porsche are so dominated. They just build an absolute machine and throw it out onto a racetrack, and it just does exactly what it needs to do with some immense talent behind the wheel. But Giuseppe Naso, I think, ran out of a bit of talent there, ran very, very wide, and I think he's going to lose a position here to Marius Janker, who's tucked underneath the rear wing on his way up to 130R. He won't get the move done here, he's a little bit too far back, but what can he do into the chicane? He took 2/10 out of him on the lap prior, just on the brakes. This time by, he's a little bit too far back to have a lunge, but he can have a look nonetheless. Takes the wider line into the right-hander, throwing it over the curbs to the left, and now booting it onto the start finish straight. Peels his way into the pit lane, might get the position made on strategy. Well, Marius, he had a good in lap and hopefully an even better out lap, but Giuseppe Naso continues on. Thies van den Berg in the background continues on, and there is Ben Thanes in the middle of them both, crossing the line now. Vincenzo Amico already on the run up towards Dunlop, so that puts the gap into perspective between those two now. 13.5 seconds. Sam Baxter right the way back, only going onto the start finish line now, still in third position overall, P1 in class. So he has had an amazing race, and like you said earlier, Peter, it's been an absolutely brilliant performance from Sam. He's had battles here, there and everywhere, but he's risen above it, gained 5 positions from where he started, and now right the way up in the podium positions overall, and still leading his class.
Yep, he is. He's doing a great job. Top bronze driver right now, so just got to try and just keep it clean. 23 minutes to go in this race, and these closings are 20 minutes or so are really dangerous, because you can just get tangled with a lap car or faster car coming through, or just making that slight mistake when you're out running on your own. You've really got to keep that concentration and just try and click off the laps. It's this is where endurance racing is very important. So for example, coming up against one of the Brit Team Fords here, which are out in front here. So he's just got to try and take this patiently and get past nice and safely, because it's just, you see it so many times in endurance racing, drivers out the front leading and get tangled up with back markers, but they managed to get past nice and safely. Well done.
Yeah, so Sandro Ballesteros, I've seen him in the background of a fair few shots this evening, and I'm glad we finally alluded to it. He's been getting out of the way very nicely and still continuing on at a good pace, because obviously he lets them by, but then he gets all the draft assistance as well, so he might lose a little bit of time in the first bit, but then gain it all back and a little bit more on the cars ahead. So the next car for him is his teammate Bradley Brocky's 25 seconds up the road in the sister E-Team Brit Ford GT, and he's then got quite a sizable gap, is probably the best way to put it, up to Marius Janka. 1 minute and 19 seconds. So Marius has now left the pit lane. Ben Thanes has dived into the pit lane this time by. Let's see what Sam Baxter does. Comes out of the final corner, continues on. Stephen DeWolf on his way through 130R now on the run up to the final chicane. Hard on the brakes, gets all of the 170 kilometers worth of speeds, or miles an hour worth of speed slowed down. Continues on. Dieter Aerts on his way through 130R now with his teammate in hot pursuit in your favourite livery on the grid, that beautiful Dynamics Ferrari with the addition of those even better golden rims. Kimber Haight still a little bit further back as well, the highest placed Flemish Sim Sport car, which I've got to say, I've just looked at the timing screen. It did slightly confuse me, because Stephen DeWolf, he's from Belgium. Ben Thanes, he's from Belgium. Dieter Aerts, Belgian. Sven Calbert, Belgian. Kimber Haight, Belgian. Ronald Moons, Belgian. Martin Deckens, Belgian. So's Matthias Sufi and Bram van Uytven. So from P3 down to P11 is a sea of Belgians, and I think that just shows when they arrive in force, because that's a lot of Belgians all in the top 10.
Oh yeah, so many top Belgian drivers, of course, as well. And probably most notably, I would say, was Jackie X, who won Le Mans so many times and won every big race there was to win. And of course, he came from Belgium. I believe he still does live in Belgium. I think he lives in the middle of Brussels. Now, Jack, I've been challenged. Joop de Light has challenged me to a encyclopedia off in the YouTube chat. Joop de Light says that it's not John Hugenholtz who was the designer of Suzuka, but I refer Mr. Delight to racingcircuits.info, my secret weapon, or not so secret anymore, and I look forward to his reply.
Oh God, here we go. Just as we get to a boring part in this stream, we've got a knowledge off in chat, and I've got to say, Joop, after an immense performance yesterday, please don't go and ruin it, because I'm sorry, but I've got to be on Peter's side here. Even when we're not watching motorsport, and well, we're watching Vincenzo Amico leave the pit lane now. It's just, oh yeah, did you know? And there you go. He's off then. He's off on one, and you can't really slow him down at that point, because then that will lead him on to something else. And I've got to say, I don't know how you do it, Peter. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know how you do it, Peter. You somehow store it away for later use, and it just doesn't seem to fade. It's straight there, hot on the mark, like Porsche Club GB Season 1. That was brilliant. It's just the extra little bits, because it's great to have that in your pocket as well, because like we said, every part in the race, or on every single race, there is a part which gets slightly boring when there's not that many battles out on circuit, and it's great just to fill that time, and then obviously drop them in here and there. It does add another level to the commentary, but somebody who's on another level today, Matthias Sufi, that's the second time he's gone through there, waits at the giveaway sign and continues on once again, decides, yep, he's lost all that time going into the chicane, it may as well do it on his in-lap.
Clever.
Yeah, great strategy.
That's clever.
From Matthias
He would have
Sufi.
Sorry, my apologies, Jack. He would have served his slowdown penalty coming into pit lane. That's incredibly clever.
Yep, so minimal loss there from Matteo as he drives into his pit box. Ben Thane's now back out on circuit, and the order very much remains the same. The only driver we've got in the top 10 still to pit is that man there, Martin Deckins, who, by the looks of it, will lose out to everybody behind him and drop him back down into, I think, what will be P10 on the road. So a massive drop from where we've seen him before, but even after the earlier incidents, that is a great position to be in. The closest cars we've got out on circuit, let's have a look. I think it might be this battle here. Matthias Sufi leaving the pit lane now. He's come out onto the tail of Anthony Larson for Ronin Sim Sport Academy, so a change of position there, obviously with the very slow in-lap from Matthias Sufi. But as one battle disappears, we do get another. We get treated to another, and we know that Matthias Sufi is very good at defending, but this gives him a chance to show off his attacking capabilities on a different car. So he's been defending from Ferraris and Fords, and he's now got a BMW to have a little bit of a play around with.
Absolutely, yeah. Anthony Larson's coming in 10th place, but you have to feel he was a podium challenger, made a bit of a mistake early on, and that really just set him back. Or put him on the back foot for most of the race. There's 17 minutes to go. Still got a bit of work to do here, and he's, as you can say, he's got the attention of Matteo Sufi as well. And I tell you what, he will not want Matteo to go past him, because he'll have to look at that horrible sticker on the back of Matteo's car, which isn't so good. We have a response from Yop Delight, Jack, if you want to hear it.
Go on, I'm all
Yeah,
ears.
so Yop Delight has he's come in and he's waving the white flag. However, he's calling for a draw, a gentleman's draw, which I'm happy to grant. He says that John Hugenholtz is normally called Hans Hugenholtz here in the Netherlands. So I guess we will have to call that a draw. So who would have thought that he would he had a different name in his native homeland of the Netherlands, a country which I have a great affection for. I used to spend a lot of time over there.
Well, we couldn't tell, because when we went to Zandvoort for Porsche Club, it was all, oh yeah, they've got good chocolate, good chips, good beer, and whatever other secret delights that you could
David
find.
Bowie Museum.
Yeah, that you could find over the big river. But back to Japan for the moment. Matthias Sufi,
another of my favourite countries.
He's dropped back massively now. 1.7 seconds is the gap between himself and Anthony Larson, the man we're looking at the moment. But on the brakes, we see Matthias Sufi gain, and then coming out of the corner, we see him lose time. So I think it's starting to level out a little bit. And as Matthias Sufi once again gets comfortable with his car and gets back in the rhythm, I hope that he slowly catches up, not just for him, but for us as well, because this is the biggest, or the smallest gap on circuit, 2 seconds. I think the next smallest gap, pardon me, is this gap here between Dieter Aert, and if we look back, you can see Sven Calvert on his way through Spoon Curve, now going on to the back straight. And like we say, most races have a point, but this race, it's been a bit all over the shop. We've been treated to lots and lots and lots of battles throughout the start of the stream, and they've gone, well, there you go, that's your lot now. It's going to be nice and quiet for the final 15 minutes.
Well, I've got some more filling material for you, Jack. So apparently, according to Yop Delight, Johannes is John for English and Hans in Dutch. So it's Johannes, short for Johannes is Hans. So there we go. It's a draw after all. Very friendly, amicable draw. Now, I've actually been in an official iRacing Le Mans Series race. In fact, it was my last ever race on the last day of the HBD LMP2, and Yop Delight was in that race, and he expressed the exact opposite of delight to one of his fellow competitors on the in-race chat. And I tell you what, judging by that, I wouldn't want to disagree with him, to be honest.
Well, I've got to say, thankfully, I haven't seen the angry side of Yop, and I hope we don't. After yesterday, I'm sure we won't, but it was a brilliant performance from yourself, Yop. But yeah, let's try and keep him on good terms for the moment after what I've just heard. But we all get angry at some point. But somebody who isn't angry with their performance this evening is this one here, Giuseppe Nazzo, currently in 16th position overall, 8th in class, gained 9 position and gained 9 positions so far, and he's trying to make it back up to 10th again because Thijs van den Berg in front for Dynamics Racing in that BMW is slowly falling foul to the Italian. He's been getting closer and closer and closer. I've kept an eye on it, and it's now within a second, almost within half a second, very deep on the brakes. Somehow gets it slowed down from 170 miles an hour after being almost like 50 meters later is what it looked like for the Rodin Simsport Academy driver, but crosses the line, ticks lap number 38 for himself in the book. Lead is now on lap 39. He is getting closer, but he's going to go back to that old saying, catching is one thing, and even more so around here, overtaking is very much another.
Yeah, but I tell you what, this has been a good run from Giuseppe Nazzo, given he started from, not even from the back of the grid, starting from pit lane, so you go a long way back, and he's just, yeah, like you say, he's just clicked away slowly but surely, now up to 16th place, and if he can just keep his nose clean to the end of the race, he'll get a good haul of points. And he's also got rid of his, kind of pit lane start, if you like, brought his incident points back under control, and overall, a good day for Giuseppe Nazzo, all things considered.
Yeah, you can be very happy with his performance. That's somebody off the road. That is Thijs van den Berg off the road at Degner 1 and in the wall. He's never going to get it out of there. He is very much he's Austin Powers in between the soft cell barrier and the tyre wall. Can he get out? He's trying. Reverse and first, piling the lock on. I'm sorry, Thijs. I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to have a look at that. That was brilliant. Let's have a look back. So going through Degner 1, on his way through Dunlop into Degner 1 now, hard on the brakes, misses the apex on the gravel, and that's a one-way train. Locks the brakes up, trying to get it slowed down, throws it in sideways, which I think puts it worse. You will never be able to do that again. That is a brilliant job. Not what you want, but all the time lost. That's, if we ever make a highlights reel of this championship, that's got to go in. That's absolutely brilliant from the Dynamics BMW. Not brilliant for himself, but brilliant entertainment. But from one Dynamics car to the other, we'll go back up to Dieter Ertz, who has now got his teammate Sven Kalbert within 0.7 of a second. I can't get over how good that was. Thijs van den Berg threw it sideways. It's like he knew what he was doing. He thought, "Yep, let me just power lock on and get it in there."
You called it with the Austin Powers. I thought I had to think just for about a second or two. Think, what's he talking about, Austin Powers? And then I remembered the scene when he gets stuck in the hallway in like a golf buggy and he's reversing it back and forth. It's very true. Oh well, he's given us Thijs van den Berg has given us plenty of entertainment so far this evening, hasn't he? He's been crashing into people and then the best parallel park you've ever seen in your life.
It'd be great to go shopping with him. Like none of this fannying around trying to find all of these positions. Yep, just lob it in there. That'll do. Great job from Thijs, but I'm sure his Dynamics teammates are well aware of what has just happened. But if they were in the same voice chat, I'm sure it's a mix of anger and laughter from Thijs. But Sven Kalbert, he's got to stay as serious as possible here. 0.6 of a second up to his teammate. We've had an incident there was an incident at pretty much exactly the same time between Bram van Uitven going in towards turn 1. Does he run a little bit wide? No, about turn 2. There he runs wide. Does he keep it off the grass? He does indeed. Anthony Larson had an incident at the same point. This is through 130R. I'm assuming he just ran a little bit wide on exit, clouts the curb, and then can't. Oh, a big wobble. Great job to keep it under control. I'm going to have a look back at that. We'll go back onto the nose cam so you can see what happened. I'm not going to slow it down because it tends to take away from it, but look at that big old wobble. Aims towards the wall, but keeps his foot in. Hard on the brakes after going over the grass, but continues on without too many issues. But it looked like a little moment, but I've got to say that must have been a very, very busy moment for Anthony. Heart in mouth for sure.
Yes, that would have been multiple inputs on the steering wheel and multiple outputs from mouth with expletives. That was well held there from Anthony Larson. I love the sound of that. The BMW, actually, I have had the immense privilege of standing trackside with one of these things going by, and in real life, and it is incredibly quiet, believe it or not, compared to its rivals like the Porsche or the Corvette. But the noise on the overrun is amazing, isn't it? When you're on the brakes, that sort of crackling noise as the driver comes off the throttle and onto the brakes, down the gears, and that sort of crackle is really, really impressive. Although it's actually a V8 engine, a twin-turbo V8 with 560 horsepower, it's actually, they built the engine with two four-cylinder engines welded together in a V.
Well, I've got to say, that's a unique way of building a V8. You tend to just go cylinder by cylinder and build it up from there, but no, you just build half of it and yep, slap another one onto it. That's one way to build the V8, and they did a brilliant job because it sounds amazing. And I've got to say, it's probably one of my favourite sounding cars in Sim, probably after the 911 Cup car. I think that sounds amazing. And the Audi RS3, the overrun on that is brilliant. You lift off and it pops and bangs, and then you get a little bit of a crackle. And then when you put your foot to the floor, it starts to wind up again. But back to GTEs, which is what we're watching at the moment. Ronald Moons trying to pick off Stuart Musselwhite. We've seen a lot of Stuart. He's had a very busy race, but sadly, he's only been going backwards when we've seen him. But he's been going forwards at some point because he's gained 4 positions from where he started. It just seems every time we click on him, he's got another car to try and defend from. But we know he drives a brilliant defensive drive. He's managed to defend from 4 cars over 4 laps pretty much after the incident that sadly took place not so long back. But Stuart Musselwhite, apparently he went off the road. I think that was him running wide at turn 1. Ronald Moons almost getting into the tail end of the SRW BMW. But Stuart will have his hands full with this battle because we know Ronald Moons can slither his way past without too much of an issue. Runs slightly wide again. We've seen him run wide through Degner 1 already. Stuart, we had an incident for Thies van den Berg, I think, on the run up to the hairpin if the move doesn't happen, which it isn't. We can have a look back. Tell us what you see, Peter.
So Thies van den Berg, well, he's finally got the car out of the Austin Powers parking space. Stops at the straight through the stop sign. They would fail your driving test for that. As he just gets back onto the circuit safely, but quite a lot of damage to the wheel on that BMW M8. But yeah, Ronald Moons putting a lot of pressure here on Stuart Musselwhite, and Ronald looking very wild and slidey as we've seen. But nice to see Ronald Moons giving Stuart plenty space.
Yeah, it's great to see. He knows more than anybody that space has to be given, and this time later on the brakes throws it up the inside. I thought they were getting closer and closer together, but like you said, Ronald Moons, he gives more than ample space here. Decides to let Stuart go. Focuses on his exit coming out of the chicane. You see, gained a little bit of time coming out. He will be into the draft range well and truly underneath the rear wing. Dives out to the right hand side, which will become the inside for turn 1. I think with the extra momentum that he's got, he might get the position made, but he is carrying damage later on the brakes. We've seen him do that before. Carbon copy of an overtake we saw earlier on in the race, and there you go, Ronald Moons up into P12. I strongly believe he deserves to be higher tonight. He just had little mistakes here and there that have cost him dearly. But Stuart Musselwhite dropping back another position up the road, though. The Dynamics duo still nose to tail. This time Dieter Aerts has got Sven Kalbert much closer. Last time we looked, they were about 7 tenths apart. This time they're 2 tenths apart through 130R. The Porsche looks a little bit more settled through there. The gap opens up a little bit. What can Sven Kalbert do on the brakes in that Ferrari? Uses all the road, clips the grass a little bit through the final chicane. But you've got to think they may be teammates, but is there going to be any love lost between them? Are they just going to race like they don't know each other, or are they going to, like this late on in the race, are they going to have the thought in the back of their mind, we're teammates, we can't take each other out, we can't take too many risks?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I would imagine, like most sim racing teams, they will be in direct contact with one another via Discord or TeamSpeak or something like that. They will be able to speak to one another, I'm sure. That's certainly the norm for sim racing teams. But yeah, they'll be in contact, giving each other their thoughts on the situation. But I feel with Ronald Moons, as you hit the nail on the head there, Jack. It's definitely a story of what could have been. I think he actually probably even had pace for the podium even We should call him Rocket Ronald Moons. I think that's given that moons and rockets go together quite well as well.
Well, there you go, another driver christened with a nickname from Peter. He's been added to the ever-growing list. We did see Caravan Carl Sharkey make an appearance last night in the smaller grid for GT Pro, but tonight, thank God, we have a very, very big grid. 20 cars still running out on circuit, which is still more than what we started with yesterday. There was a change of position in the background there. I think that was Marius Janka getting past Stuart Musselwhite. Let's have a look back to see how this came about. Through turn 1, and Stuart Musselwhite once again running wide. He did it when he lost the position to Matthias Sufi, or to Ronald Moons, and there you go, he's done it again and lost the position to Marius Janka. So Stuart Musselwhite, like I said, every time we look at him, he only really seems to be going backwards, but he has been going forwards at points. Giuseppe Nazzo will be the next car to approach him, but he is 27 seconds behind, and bearing in mind we're 1 hour and 27 minutes into the 90-minute race, I don't think without a sizable mistake Giuseppe will pick up another position. But Giuseppe is another Porsche which I think has had a brilliant night. They're bringing something else to the table, I think, after the most recent update. Giuseppe Nazzo 10 position gained after starting in the pit lane, and Sam Baxter still turning the laps and even closing the gap to Ben Thanes. He was 20 seconds behind and he's now only 11, so he is closing the gap, but I do think he's going to run out of time. But Sam Baxter, standout driver for me this evening alongside Giuseppe Nazzo.
Definitely, yeah. Sam Baxter particularly, we saw him, he's been really impressive since he's come into the series and making the most of that 911 RSR. And yeah, podium for a bronze driver, let's not forget. So Baxter certainly putting plenty of points together in the bronze title race.
He is indeed. Obviously, we will have the standings for you. They won't be up to date after this evening, but we will have the standings going into this round, so you can see after the race how the drivers might have been feeling going into this round, whether they know they've got to make the points back. We will, like I said, have a look back. We will go through the results from this race and then go on to the championship standings, and then finally onto interviews and close off the night. But we still have racing to go. Only 1 minute of the race remaining, and looking at Vincenzo Amico and where he is on the track, I think this will be the last lap, because he's definitely not 54 seconds into this lap, but 24 seconds ahead of Ben Thanes. He arrived at Imola as somebody that nobody really knew, and he rocked up, led from lights to flag in a very, very similar performance this evening. I'm not sure what it is, I can't put my finger on it, but Vincenzo Amico, he's insanely quick. I think G-Drive might be thinking, hang on a minute, he's quicker than us, let's get him on the team, because they might have to steal him from Ronin Simsport Academy for the performances that he's putting in. And like you said at the start of the stream, Ben Thanes, he doesn't hang about. He's an incredibly quick driver, and to gap Ben Thanes by 25 seconds in a 90-minute race is insane. I'm not sure how he does it, but he definitely knows how to pilot that BMW around here, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think he well and truly deserves his place in the Pro Series, and he might well get an automatic promotion to that series. We'll just need to wait and see what happens. But yes, he has not put a foot wrong. He didn't put a foot wrong at Imola, and neither here at Suzuka. Two very challenging tracks. Let's not discount how difficult both Imola and Suzuka are. But here he comes then to take the checkered flag.
Yeah, Vincenzo Amico crosses the line to win round 7 of the Simracersworld GT Evo Series. A brilliant job for the Ronin Simsport Academy driver. Definitely deserves it. A dominating drive, incredibly clean as well. I think, yeah, he does take the fastest lap of the race. The only driver to get into the 1 minute 54s. You can hear the crowd in the background cheering him on. Ben Thanes coming through the final corner now to take second overall and second in class. Another podium and another great haul of points for himself and G-Drive Eximia. Sam Baxter, standout driver for me this evening, or for me and Peter, takes third overall and the win in the bronze category. So the Fury Simsport driver with an amazing drive this evening, flashing the lights, deserves to be overjoyed with that result. Stephen de Wolf on his way through 130R for the final time. Dynamics Racing with a dominating team drive this evening. Stephen de Wolf followed by Bram van Ooit, Van Dieter Aerts and Sven Kalber, all Dynamics cars, through the final corner on the final lap. There we go, crossing the line to take P4 overall and round out your silver class podium. Bram van Uitven in the beautiful Porsche with the luminous green flashes crosses the line now to round out your top 5. Dieter Ertz crosses the line to take second in class, and followed by Sven Kalbert very closely to round out your bronze podium. We'll have some more confirmed results for you once everybody has crossed the line, but that was a very busy race. Recovering from GT Pro last night, I've got to say, was a bit of a mission. It was a minimised grid for one reason or another, and that's great to see the dynamics racing cars all lining up for, I'm assuming, a photo shoot at the end of the session. But GT Pro last night didn't really bring much to the table, but GT Evo definitely made up for it tonight, don't you think?
Absolutely, yeah. There was some excellent driving, excellent racing on show, and yeah, Vincenzo Amico continues to amaze us. I've just received word that he, in fact, owns Ronin Sim Sport, so that would explain quite a lot.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be changing to G Drive anytime
No.
soon, then. But Vincenzo Amico, you can see where he gets it from, can't you? He's done a brilliant job as Vincenzo, and I think that's great to see. Let me see whether we can grab somebody else who's a little bit further around so we can get all of that in shot. Maybe if we grab Chopper, we can see the lot of them. Look at that, all the Dynamics cars lining up for a photo, and the E-Team Brit guys trying to sneak into the background. A little bit of a photo bomb for those guys, and it seems like turn one is where it's all happening. That's where everybody wants to get their photos taken, and there's now more carnage in the background. Cars spinning, and everybody enjoying themselves, and that's just great to see. They've spent 90 minutes hard at work behind the wheel, and they've still got time to line up at the end and just have a great time with the teammates.
Absolutely, yeah. Then we saw a great burnout there as well from the from Calbert in the Ferrari. That's very cool indeed. Very good. But here's the results then, Jack.
Yep, so Vincenzo Amico finishing 25 seconds ahead of Ben Thane's dominating drive, takes the win in class, and obviously the win overall as well. Ben Thane, it's kind of hard to concentrate when you've got a Porsche doing donuts in the background. Ben Thane's for G-Drive Exemia finishes in second position. Sam Baxter, brilliant drive from the Fury Simsport driver. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets promoted up to the silver category. Takes P3 overall, so an overall podium and a win in class as well. So a great job from him. Stephen de Wolf finishes in fourth. Bram van Uitven finishes in fifth. Dieter Ertz, sixth, second in class. Sven Kalbert rounds out your bronze podium in seventh, Kimber Haight in eighth, Martin Deckens in ninth, and Anthony Larson rounds out your top 10. Then we get back to Matthias Sufi, Ronald Moons, good recovery drive from him. Marius Janka also starting from the pit lane, I believe. So a good job from him. Then Stuart Musselwhite, after defending from pretty much everybody. Giuseppe Nazzo, another standout drive for me. Started in the pit lane, worked his way up 10 positions up into P15. Scotty Angelo 16th, Thies van den Berg in 17th, Hendrik de Grave in 18th. We go down another couple of rows. Bradley Brockies in 19th, and Sandro Ballesteros rounds out your finishes. And then sadly throughout that race we lost John McConville, Anton Dupin, Lee Woodburn, and I don't think Taylor Lane made the start after a good qualifying, so a shame not to see Taylor take the checkered flag. But a very busy race, a very entertaining one, and sadly we won't have the up-to-date championship standings, but I'm going to hand you over to Peter to run you through what the championship standings were coming into this round, so you can maybe, no we can't, let me try and send the data, and so you can maybe almost put a finger on how the drivers were reacting this evening. There we go, we do have them up on screen, and Billy Fletcher for some reason is at the top of the order. I don't remember doing that, but Billy Fletcher at the top of the order, Peter.
He is, yeah, but not present tonight, so that's interesting. So he will stay on 310 points, and of course Ben Thane's doing what he needs to do. He didn't flinch tonight. Although Vincenzo Amico was really on the pace and was clearly the guy who was going to be taking the win. Well, Ben did the next best thing, finish second, and we saw that particularly in the World Superbike Championship last year when Jonathan Ray finished in second place for the opening 11 races in a row to the same guy, and then still won the championship. So Ben Thane's doing what he needs to do to keep that going. And I believe Rob Tyson, he's been promoted to GT Pro. Is that correct, Jack?
I think so. I also fear that the championship standings haven't updated from when I set them at the start of the stream. So after all of bigging it up and saying, yeah, I have updated them, And it does say I have, but for some reason it's not working. I think I may. There we go. That'll be why. If I do that, we should have some corrected ones. There we go.
Hey, look at that. Right, so these are live now then, Jack.
Um, no, these are going into this round. These are going into this round.
See. Okay. So Ben Thane's then coming into this round on 385 points, and again he's doing a great job to keep his lead going ahead of his G Drive teammate Rob Tyson. Camille Yagizoglu also not present tonight either. Neither was Billy Fletcher. So and Anton Dupin putting it in the wall early on. So Ben Thane's putting a lot of air between him and his championship rivals, and it's going to take pretty much a perfect season from Vincenzo Amico to catch him up. If he even does that.
It will indeed. And Sam, in chat, you are on the results. You're just not in the top 18 for the moment, though. After some good results, after a good result this evening, I'm sure next week when we look at the championship standings, you will be up there. And Vincenzo Amico is on here as well. He's just not in the top 18. So what we'll do, I'll run you through the last couple or the next few. Billy Fletcher in fourth. Anton Dupin went into the round in fifth. Ronald Moon sixth. John McConville seventh. Kimber Haight in eighth. Dominic Forster and Sven Calvert round out your top 10. Bram van Uitven also on 203 points, as well as Sven Calvert, so the Dynamics duo really inseparable after this evening as well. Matthias Sufi, Marius Janker, Hendrik de Grave, Martin Deckens, Taylor Lane after a no-show this evening. I don't think that will have done his championship charge any good. Jesse Hendricks in 17th and Giuseppe Nazo in 18th after a good result this evening. I'm sure that will boost him up through the order. Then we get the last couple. Dies van den Berg after a dominating drive this evening, back up through the order in 19th going into this round though, so that will have helped his championship standings. These aren't the live championship standings as previously mentioned. Stephen DeWolf 20th, Steve Norman 21st, Paul Cliss 22nd, Steve Cooley in 23rd, Stuart Musselwhite in 24th, Cammy Sturch sadly not arriving this evening in 25th, Vincenzo Amico, there he is with 100 points going into this round, but that will be up to 200, which we will see the up-to-date championship standings next round. Louis Correa went into the round in 27th, another no-show, and Roger Morton in 28th. And do we have any more to go down? We have a couple more. Scotty Angelo 29th, Kevin Morey 30th, Sam Baxter after a great drive this evening. That will see him with a massive boost up the order, so keep an eye out for him with his charge. John Tusting, who's sadly no longer in the GT Evo series, Dieter Ertz, James Hobden, Chris Moretta, Ian Roots, sadly not rocking up this evening, or should I say Roger Roots, Jonathan Steggers and Bradley Brockies round out your championship standings. Going into the round, of course, that isn't the up-to-date championship standings. What I'll do is I'll get some music on in the background, and I'm hoping, Peter, we will end up with some drivers in the interview waiting room. Let's have a look to see whether we've got anybody to drag in. Sadly not, but to fill the last couple of minutes, how could you sum up tonight? If it's possible to do it in a few words, please do so.
Well, I knew that, I now know that if someone's called John and they're Dutch, that could be that it's Johannes and they actually should be called Hans. I did learn that.
Well, I gotta say, every day's a school day.
Every day and, school day, yeah.
You did get challenged by Jof de Ligt, but I think both of you were just going singing from the same hymn sheet, just in a different language by the sounds of it.
We were indeed. But Vincenzo Amico, I mean, absolutely flawless. But like we said, Ben Thanes, is doing exactly what he needs to do. He could have got flustered, tried to run Vincenzo's pace, but he didn't. He just ran to his own pace, which was more than good enough for second, and that's only a tiny drop in points. And Ben Thanes, if he continues to turn up each week and keep clicking out those podiums, he'll be on course to win this championship. So but it just shows you, I mean, just how much of a challenge as well the Suzuka circuit is. A number of drivers making mistakes, but some excellent racing all up and down the field, and well done to all taking part tonight. It's been a pleasure to call the race.
It really has been a very busy race to call as well. Ronald Moon's in the chat saying, just for the record, I was not drunk this race. Never in a month of Sundays would we think you were. But yeah, coming to Strive this evening, mate, you could have had a hell of a lot more from that race, but still finishing in P12, a great recovery drive from yourself. And sadly, no interviewees in the interview waiting room, so that does round out this stream. But I'm going to throw it over to Peter. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out while you're in the commentary box here on Simracersworld TV?
Absolutely, yes. I'd like everyone watching to check out PorscheSport.com, the world's leading independent Porsche news site with some brilliant feature articles on there as well. And also go on to your chosen podcast provider and subscribe to the Porsche Sport podcast, which of course we're both involved with. We've got lots of special content coming up, and of course the weekly show, which publishes every Thursday. And if you subscribe via your chosen podcast provider, you'll always get a handy notification when a new episode comes out. So do check that out. And also the new Porsche Sport directory, which I believe is on the way as well. So that is who I can give my shout out to. It's almost like I've got a sponsor and I'm almost like I'm a racing driver, but not quite, Jack.
Brilliant stuff. If Anthony Larson wants an interview running SimSport, please do tell him to join the Simracersworld TV Discord. I'm sure the link will be in the description. But we're going to have to round out the night, so we will bring him in next week, I promise. If he joins the interview waiting room, we will get him in, and it'll be great to hear from himself. But thank you very, very much, everybody. If you watched along, it was a brilliant race. Keep an eye out this Sunday. This Sunday we have the Daytona 500, which you will see the info on screen at the end of this stream. So please do keep an eye out for that. It's definitely worth a watch. Something new for Simracersworld TV, so I think it will bring something new to the table, and lots of action, we hope. Something that I'm not massively familiar with, but I'm sure after 500 miles of Daytona, 200 laps, it will be well and truly ingrained into my brain. But thank you very much for putting up with me this evening, Peter, and thank you very much, everybody who has watched along. It's been an absolute pleasure. But until next time, stay safe, have fun, bye-bye.